clip for you to explain a little bit more about what the Everest Trail Race is, what would be expected of you, how to train for it, sort of kit you'd require, all the usual questions that you might have ahead of getting involved in a multi-day ultra. So Sue's here to just help guide with some questions. So let's get started.
Lovely to be here with you, Kerry, to talk about this. Oh, it sounds fantastic. So, Everest Trail Race in Nepal. You did it a few years ago.
I did.
So, what was it like for you?
I did do it a number of years ago, and it still stands out as one of the best multi-days.
Wow.
That I did.
And you have done a few.
I have done a few. I've sampled a few of them around the world. Yeah, that's true. And testament to the ETR, I have a picture of the route behind me as a map, and 2 photos of James, my partner, who also came and ran it with me. And even for him as well, it stands out as one of the all-time great ultras for just the scenery. Scenery is extraordinary.
Yes.
The people are amazing.
Yes.
The culture is just is so warm and interesting and diverse. And you are with it the whole time. So there's prayer wheels all the way along. There's ways that you have to go around certain religious artefacts. You've got yak trains that you go past. You're going over these wonderful high bridges with prayer flags all over them. I mean, it's just a sensory overload all the time.
So it's a total immersion into the culture, into the way of life.
It is.
Whilst doing something that you really love.
You love doing.
Really good at.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling the vibe for it, which sounds, I'm picking up on your excitement about it. So tell me, what actually is the Everest Trail Race? Give me the figures, give me the
stats.
Yeah.
It's a multi-day in that it follows the general rule of roughly sort of between 25 and 30 kilometres a day, which doesn't sound too much.
Feasible
for
me.
and it adds up to sort of 160 kilometres in total, so 100 miles.
Yes.
But this one is shorter because of the elevation, and there is a lot of climb.
Yes.
You will go. You'll climb the height of Everest 1 2/3.
But you don't climb Everest.
You don't climb Everest.
Okay.
In fact, you don't go to base camp. That's another thing to just you go to. You end up the furthest point you'll go to is the highest monastery in the world, and it's called Temboche, and you stop there. It's one of the places that you camp in clear sight of Everest, and you are able actually to go into the monastery.
You don't go up Everest, and
you don't go into it. No,
okay,
but you do climb.
But you get super views.
Super views, extraordinary. Right. You are surrounded by snow-capped mountains the whole time, whilst also running along riverbeds, whilst running over really high bridges. Very sort of rocky terrain. Then you've got some high peaks. We've got Pikey Peak, which takes you over 4,100 metres. Wow. You're not up there very long. And it's a sort of gradual climb up there, but you come down quite quickly. So if you are concerned about the altitude.
How many runners or participants, let's call them participants, are there on average in the race?
The field is beautifully small, and that gives it a really strong sense of family. Yeah. The people who organise it are there themselves. This is not a corporate affair. Okay, they've not outsourced it to anybody. Yeah. And there isn't this sense that you're in some sort of corporate whatever
machine.
Yeah. They care so much so that I wrote an email to the organizer last week, and I haven't had any correspondence with them for a number of years now, and they remember me, and they remember that James ran with me. So excellent. You do get, and you do feel that on the course, which
so you're
matters.
Part of the family, and it's a cliche, but you are part of the family. Yeah, great.
Yeah. There is a very diverse field, so you will have some very good sponsored runners, but you will also have people that walk the entire thing, and that is fine. The cut-offs are very generous. They allow for that, and they want to include lots of participation. You will have some Sherpas in there as well as part of the runners.
Yes.
So it's a really nice diverse field. You've got people from all over the world. A lot of Spaniards, because they're Spanish, the people that organise it.
Spanish, are they? Right,
yeah.
Okay, yep.
But the field will tend to range from 30 to 40, maybe 50 people. So it is quite small. You are very much kept together. You eat together. And they really do work well and work hard at building this sort of sense of group, a community.
So it sounds like it's accessible to, I say, the average runner. Obviously, you've got to want to do it and feel confident in your own ability. So talking about the cut-offs, it's always a fear of mine when I'm doing a long distance, because I am always towards the back of the pack. But Am I right in thinking that if you miss a cut-off one day, you're not sort of expelled from the whole... Eliminated from the whole event? So
you're not.
You can, as long as you're physically capable of carrying on the next day, you can just pick up where you left off. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant.
Which is brilliant. I mean, you've gone all that way. You paid a rather lot of money. And so to allow you to keep going, as long as you're medically fit.
Yes.
And there is a medical team that goes with you, who are wonderful. I unfortunately sprained my ankle on, I think it was day 3, and it was really swollen. But they did a wonderful job of taping it up that allowed me to carry on. So they are great, and they will support you. The cut-offs are generous, and that allows you to walk. Right. And as long as you're fit enough to cover the climbs, and there is a 16-kilometer climb at one point going up to that monastery, and that is you're constantly on, heart rate's up, and as long as you can manage that sort of thing, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to go.
So going back to the logistics of the whole event, it seems to span over about sort of 10 days.
Yes.
So, and you said you run on 5. So what happens for the rest of the time? I know there's logistics of getting there, but surely it doesn't take that long. So talk me through what happens.
No, well, this is what's lovely about it, is that the fee that you pay to enter covers 2 days at the beginning and 2 days at the end. And the 2 days in the beginning, the first day you arrive and you're acclimatising Kathmandu.
So brilliant.
What a crazy city.
Yes.
Crazy. You will see things you just don't think could be possible.
Sure.
Certainly in our culture, which is all locked down by sort of insurance and whatever else. It's a madhouse, but wonderful in such a way. Yeah. So you have 2 days in Kathmandu. They take you on a sightseeing tour if you want to.
So you're being a tourist. You're not running.
You're not running. No, you're not running. You're not expected to move very much at all.
Good.
So you can go and see some of the monasteries, go and see all the macaques in the monasteries and various bits and pieces. So James and I spent a number of hours going and watching the funerals, where they're all open but it's part. It's really
part of their culture.
It's a really important part of their culture. Sure. And it was fascinating. So there's time to immerse yourself in the culture.
Okay. So you've had your 2 days in Kathmandu.
Yeah.
You've done all your sightseeing. Then what happens?
Then you're all put into a minibus and taken on an 8 to 9 hour journey through the countryside, which is another opportunity to just see the diversity of the country. Sure. You'll pass through many villages and stuff, so you can immerse yourself there in more culture. And then you arrive at this wonderful tented village in these lovely dome tents, and that's where you then go through all your kit checks and bits and pieces, and then you start on your journey up the trail which Hillary took to get to base camp. He actually started in Kathmandu, so you start a little bit further up, and you wind your way up. There are aid stations every 7 to 10 kilometres where they'll give you water, fruit, biscuits and things like that. They can check in on you. There are runnable sections. If you want to run them, as I said, you can do this as a walk. It is not, certainly when we were there would have been 3 or 4 people that were doing it entirely at a walk. Okay. And they were, they made it in the cut-offs and everything. So it is very doable as a walk.
How much? So just picking up on that, how much do you think you walked and ran? What percentage roughly? Do you remember?
It's hard to remember.
Sure. Obviously the Alps, I'm presuming.
No,
even you
walking.
Didn't run the Alps.
No, definitely walking. And if you want to, I mean, that's sort of a well-known sort of coaching thing about ultras, is that any gradient at all, you really want to maintain yourself over the long haul, which means you walk the gradients. Yeah. So, it is very difficult for me to remember, but I'm going to say that if it wasn't 50-50, then there was probably 60-40 walking.
60 walking, 40 running.
But I would hesitate on that.
Sure.
But there is quite a lot of but that also means there's 40% of running, so there are runnable trails. You run through Namche Bazaar, which is a wonderful town, big town, really again diverse. That you can just sort of stop off and buy a few things if that's what you wanted, food wise. Yeah. Because just to supplement what you might have.
Right. So now we've covered what the race is. Well, it's more of an event then than a race, is it? I guess people are racing.
No, it is a race, and it's one of the only ones that I have done that has prize money. So I've got this wonderful
training.
elephant about so big downstairs that I said to James, I saw it in Kathmandu before we left, and I said, if I get some prize money, then I will buy that elephant, which in fact I did. So
brilliant.
It does have prize money. So there's an added incentive. You've got to beat the Sherpas, who are strong, and obviously the what are they called? Sponsored athletes. But no, it is a lovely feature that they do have some prize money. It is a race,
but without being super competitive.
No,
unless you are one of the sponsored athletes.
There was never a sense of looking at timings or lists of positions and things. There wasn't. It was everybody was there together and having an experience.
Yeah. Okay, so multi-day event race.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how much kit do I need for that? That's going to be a lot. I'm going to have to invest. This is big bucks. So talk me through what I would need as a typical runner going out there, and also maybe what I don't need if that makes sense, because it's quite easy to take too much. So talk me through.
To give you a sort of just a quick overview, it isn't a race that you're going to have to spend a lot of money on kit. The one item that possibly will cost you a little bit extra is your sleeping bag, because it does need to go down to sort of, they say -10, but so it does need to be a warm sleeping bag, and you want it to be light.
Light, I was going to say, you've got to carry it.
Though there are places you can hire them from. So there is a way of getting around that if you don't want to, have a massive outlay on the sleeping bag. And you need a warm jacket, a puffer jacket of some description to keep you warm at night. But honestly, beyond that, it's nothing more than what you would normally have. So,
normal trail shoes.
Normal running clothes, waterproofs, which we all have in this country. If you've run any races, you have to have taped seams, which would be what you would need. We didn't see a drop of rain when we were there, but it was cold.
Yes, sure.
And when you're cold and at altitude, you do feel it a bit more. So actually, it's not. You don't need to look at the price of entering this event and then go, and on top of that, I'm then going to have to add a huge burden of cost, because there isn't one.
Yeah.
They provide the tents. They provide roll mats. So and they provide all the food. They provide you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're really well fed. So that isn't a problem. You don't need to carry any food of that nature. You just got snacks for the day, and you're carrying a reasonably light pack, because you're fed by them. So you've got your sleeping bag and your warm clothes and your daily nutrition. So it's semi-self-supported.
Okay. Right. So I'm all geared up for the race. I'm looking forward to it. I've got my kit, or I say lack of kit. I've got my sleeping bag. I've got my puffer jacket. Let's not forget the training. Let's say, for example, I'm 6 months out from this race.
Yes.
Where do I need to be?
I think certainly 6 months out's giving yourself a good amount of lead up time. At a good base level of fitness. So you are a consistent runner. You've obviously done some elevation before. And then it will come down to keeping your running up. And then building in the elevation. I've got some very good routes around Snowdon that will get you ready for it, and you do multiple ups and downs of Snowdon. So it's fast packing at times, fast packing with elevation, and then just some normal running
everyday
training, everyday runs, and strength training. I mean, if you really want to have... That's a really
good point, actually, because I do think runners neglect strength training.
They do.
Because we just want to run. We just want to run.
But actually, it is a really important feature. You do need to have strong ligaments and tendons and things. It is uneven, and you want to be able to, catch yourself on the difficult terrain. So, strength training is a really good one. Working on your knees, your quads, your ankles, your glutes, and your core.
Okay, so I can just carry on when I say my normal training. Obviously, with the event in mind, so there's specific training for the trails, the elevation, keeping my volume of training up, and my strength training, which I don't like doing. Right, altitude.
Yeah,
we here are about 100 meters above sea level, not particularly high. We're going up to 4,000 meters. How does that work?
Well, you've got 2 days in Kathmandu, and then sorry, then you're gradually going up the trail,
Okay.
and so you're building your acclimatization as you go. Yes, Pikey Peak is high, and I do remember when I was there that there were a couple of people who were suffering from altitude sickness, but there are always people at the top of Pikey Peak who will come and support those runners that are struggling, and they will get you over and off very quickly. You're not there for very long
because you just descend.
You just descend, and then you're totally fine.
Yeah,
and those people that one person I noticed was sort of wanting to go to sleep on the trail, which is a classic sign. But he was right within minutes of dropping over the other side. So it's not something that you need to worry about. It's not something that I particularly trained for before I went out. There was no hypoxic chambers or any of these crazy things. No. And you know, puts your other half off when you're sleeping with your head in a hypoxic chamber.
I also read about breathing through straws or something.
There's all these little things you can do. If you feel like it. But as I said, I didn't do it myself. I coached someone last year who didn't do it, and they were fine. Totally fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I don't think that's something that particularly needs to come into the training, but you know, if you are somebody that's worried about it or that has struggled before, and if you've struggled before at altitude, it does not mean you will struggle again.
Sure.
It can be different.
Sure.
You know, that's where I'll come in as a coach, and just to go back to touch base with, you know, any coaching plans. Obviously, you know, I'll be here to support you through that if you needed it.
Brilliant. So I'm getting work on your elevation rather than worry about the elevation, not the altitude.
Yes.
Is what I'm getting.
Yes. Strengthen the legs. The lungs will take care of themselves, yeah.
Perfect. So I've done my training. I've even done my strength training.
Yeah.
I've signed up. I've gone to Kathmandu. I've done my multi-day race and I've finished. Okay.
Yes.
In one piece. What happens then? I'm always like, they don't just leave you, do they?
No, they don't leave you. Not at all. Not this race. They've got every base covered.
Okay.
You will finish in a place called Lukla,
okay.
and you will take an internal flight from Lukla back down to Kathmandu, where you will have a day to sort of wash, shower, recoup.
In a hotel.
Lovely hotel, where you're all staying in the same hotel.
Okay.
And then the next day you have prize giving and an awards ceremony where you all have a big dinner, and it's again, everybody comes back looking very different.
Yes.
You know, hair down from being tied up all week. You know, taking your visor off and all of your sweaty leggings and things. So it's a really nice decompress. Chat to people in a sort of more normal environment. Then the next day everyone then flies home. And James and I had the opportunity of a flight over Everest from that point. So we went and took a small plane over Everest, which was amazing. You do a lot of sightseeing. You really get under the hood of the place. Not least when you're in Kathmandu, but also through travelling in the bus, you're seeing all of the different sort of areas, but also when you're running, you know, you run through towns, you run past little houses, and these sort of little side areas where they keep their animals, and you're just you know, sort of experiencing so much of the Nepalese culture as you go along these trails.
When you did it, tell me, what were the highlights of your journey through it? And it may include the build up to it as well. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. And the highlights. I mean, they really are. So
I'm sure there's loads. We
many,
could fill
so many.
But whole hour with the highlights.
Just little touches.
Yeah.
I love the prayer wheels, and I love running along the trails, and you pass prayer wheels. I love the yaks and the yak trains where they've got these most enormous loads.
Yes.
And watching them navigate their way, and then hilarious. You come to a bridge which is obviously spanning quite a big river or ravine or whatever it is, and then it's you or the yak, you know, the yak train's coming from the other side and you're coming, you know, and who's going to take precedence. So there's this sort of this little wrangling that goes on. Sherpas are just wonderful people, and seeing them carrying these most enormous weights and loads, which obviously we've seen on TV, but you know, you are there with them, and you it's just extraordinary what they can do. Down to every day you wake up and they bring you a cup of tea to your tent.
Oh, nice.
It is such a lovely touch. You know, that's how you're woken up each morning, with a little cup of tea. So you're not sort of, oh my God, you know, like some of them they remove your tent off the top, and it's all a bit. It's quite
more more gentle, more
it's
genteel.
more gentle. It's more gentle. They wake you up and then they provide you breakfast.
Nice.
How lovely!
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice touching, and I love the fact that the race organisers are there. They are very discreet. You don't see, they're there if you want them. They're there in the background, making sure everything is working well. They're watching over you, and you feel very safe. But I love the fact that they're there.
Yes.
It gives that feel, that warm feel.
So you just mentioned there about feeling safe, obviously with the organisers, and that's something that may occur to people. So as a single woman running out on this race,
enormously safe.
Perfect.
Never questioned.
Perfect.
Never, and I have been on races that I have questioned my sanity and my the sort of danger element.
Sure.
That it's not even a factor.
Is there people around you?
Well, not all the time, no. But yeah, there are always villages around.
Okay.
The aid stations are quite short.
Okay.
You've got runners about around you. Yeah, no, it was never a
You never felt
vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
No, not at all.
Okay, wow, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for talking us through the giving us an overview of the Everest Trail Race. And where do I sign?
Yeah, well, that's what this is all about. Giving you a sense of what the experience would be like. As you have seen, I am really passionate about it. I absolutely love the race. And I think it's an experience that a lot of people, is open to a lot of people. I'm obviously going to be here for coaching if that's what you want, and support in any way, whether it's through Zoom calls or whatever. So what I would say is, if you are interested, if it's caught your attention in any way, get in touch with me and we can talk further, and I can talk you through packages and things like that. But I truly believe you wouldn't regret going on this multi-day.